That is the sound of freedom, my man. Good old American freedom. So actually, since the last time you were on the podcast, whoa.
That would have been 2 years ago.
Look at the head on that. Yuengling wasn't allowed for sale in Michigan. Now it is, and it's everywhere. That's amazing. So, hail, the oldest brewery in the United States.
Yeah, and I was in Pennsylvania last weekend, and it's like I didn't have to bring home Yuengling because it's already here. Like usually when I go out to those states in that area, Pennsylvania and Maryland, I'd bring home Yuengling.
Like, what's left now?
Yeah.
So,
I feel jaded, almost.
So, welcome back to the podcast. A little bit of a delay on that one. We got to work on that.
Okay.
The other two buttons are surprises for you. So, yeah, we've got new things, new places. Hopefully, some new guests here real soon, and get things rolling. But let's catch up with you, Dan. What you been up to lately, and why haven't we seen you so much? Because we miss you, Dan.
Really living in the wilderness. I ran in and out and joined a cult in northern Canada, and they set me free. So
You weren't Canadian enough for them?
I guess not, eh?
Those darn Canadians. They're not as nice as they seem. But yeah, welcome back stateside, Dan. Thanks for getting out of that cult.
I'm drinking Spotted Cow beer, and as I was saying off before the show, it's like, where do they come up with some of these names? You think about that?
It's probably the cow they pushed over before they started brewing it.
Something, or they're just so like drunk and stoned, they just decide to say, "Hey, let's come up with a name." Spotted Cow, yeah.
Honestly, though, like naming anything is tough these days because like there's so many names taken and copyrights and everything taken, and yeah, that's why cars sound like have stupid names now, or just letters and numbers. Means nothing anymore. There's no inspiration behind it. But yeah, inspiration. You know, that's one of the things it takes to, like, even just setting up the podcast and A, having the time for it, B, life not getting in the way, C, family, kids, running them everywhere. But yeah, there's been a lot of life changes since the last podcast. I brought Jami on here recently. She's now in my life permanently, and a great addition to the family, and also an addition to the podcast. And of course, we got Geoff Peterson over here too. Borrowed him from the ranks of the Ferguson Show. What's up, Geoff?
Good to see you, Jeff.
My name is Jeff.
My long lost brother.
He's got some robotic issues. We're still trying to work out some of the bugs on him.
He's not well.
No.
So don't mind the man in the corner.
Yeah, he's the guy behind the curtain now, working pulling the strings. Yeah, I lost Cabo the dog.
Yeah,
he
Cabo.
was
my boy.
The best boy. Yeah, and don't extend the arm thing because that was.
Yeah.
And I did, and I'm not Hitler. I'm no. All my love to you.
Just come up with makeup stuff.
I'm on the spectrum, damn it.
You've been labeled now forever. You've been marked.
You know what? Who cares? I know what I mean. Where was I going with that? I don't know.
Found some pointless rabbit trail.
Yeah, well, Cabo the dog, and he was one of the reasons I haven't done the podcast in a while. He was my mystery writer. He was my what do they call it, the ghost writer, the guy behind the scenes, doing all the things for you, writing all the comedy and stuff like that. So to replace him, I've got Chonk the dog, who looks like Cabo, only in color and markings. But I think it's Cabo reincarnated. He traded his brains for brawn. So he's about 30 pounds heavier than Cabo ever wanted to be, and nowhere near as bright. So I think we'll get some good comedy out of him. He's more of a Scooby-Doo character. Zoinks. So, yeah, new additions in the family, that stuff. There's just been a lot going on. And doing something like this consistency is key. Do you have people texting you when you're on a podcast? Oh, don't answer. Now you're going to answer it?
No, Brian, turning off this is a ring up. Sorry,
They can call on the red
I
phone.
was like, I went to the movie theater. I was Mr. Inconsiderate cell phone man.
Yeah, you can call on the red phone if you want to call in on the podcast. But no, it's that's actually, you got the red phone here. That's actually in case.
And operators are standing by. 1-800. Call me.
That's actually in case Batman needs to call me for anything, because he's a useless superhero. Take that, Rob.
There's a little dagger in one of your other friends.
I got to throw one in there.
If you know, you know.
Yeah, I got to throw one in on him every now and then. Rob, you know I love you, buddy. But yeah, I'm going to take a jab at Batman every chance I can. He knows it. He's a good man. He takes humor well. If he didn't, he'd be a terror to mess with. He's a strong man.
Hey, infomercial minute. Hey, Jeff.
And now's the time we talk like Arnold.
Jeff, take it away.
I'll be back.
I think California is a beautiful place.
Jeff doesn't say much these days. He's brokenhearted.
Well, we can get him talking. Yeah,
Okay.
he'll talk.
You all right, Jeff?
He's got a few Arnold
Okay.
impersonations in him. We'll have to maybe crank some dials behind the scenes and get him to talk differently.
I think Jeff needs shoes.
I don't even think he had legs in the Ferguson Show. I think that's an addition to him to have legs.
Okay. What happened to the Ferguson Show?
I don't know, but it was awesome. Craig was the best. Definitely learned a lot with just flirtation with him and the female guests that came on there. And the women would come on there and actually want to be flirted with. And it's pretty amazing if you think about it. Like these women that are high value Hollywood types, men probably, or most males, won't approach them like a normal guy would. And they might be like, but Craig comes in there full confidence, just flinging things at him, and they're just keeping them off guard. But I think they just love that. I think women in general really like that kind of behavior. Just men that don't care and they're just gonna not be mean, but I mean they're just gonna be flinging things back and forth and keeping them off balance, keeping them laughing. Really, that kind of quick wit, sense of humor was very popular with women.
Yeah, he started out on ESPN. Think about that. In the
Did he really?
Early to mid '90s, he was on ESPN for a while, Sports Center, and then he migrated.
Was he
into
really?
Comedy and TV shows, yeah.
Wow, what did he do on
He was
ESPN?
It was a Sports Center. You know, there was a lot of people back when ESPN was bigger. A lot of people got their start or spent time on the air there.
That's an interesting little tidbit. Well, keep
He was
that
in-
little
wasn't he-
factoid.
He was in some movies too, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was
like an Old School or something. What was he in?
well, How to Train Your Dragon. I know he did a
Yeah.
voice for that, but yeah, he did movies here and there. But he also was like the Drew Carey show. Which one was that? The Cleveland Rocks kind of show. He was a character in that
Okay.
too. Yeah, but his show was just awesome. Watch that many times. And watch a lot of the YouTube clips of Craig Ferguson and the ladies. You know, it's if you want any flirting tips, I would definitely look that up.
Cheers to Craig Ferguson.
Here's Craig Ferguson. Yes. Who ironically can't drink anymore because he kind of overdid it in his own.
Yeah, well, a few people do overdo it now and then.
Yeah. Hopefully that won't happen to any of us.
I have friends, a lot of friends out there that can't touch it anymore.
Yeah, it's kind of sad when you see that, but sometimes it's for their own good, and sometimes they end up being a better person afterwards. Most of the time, not all the time.
Not all the time.
So, anything grinding your gears lately? Can we go into that segment?
Yeah, there's always something.
Are you
that-
fired up about something? Because you've had a few rants recently. I'm like, hold on to this for the podcast. Any subjects in particular, or in general?
People are mean.
People are mean?
Yeah, they're mean.
How are they mean, Dan? What grinds your gears about mean people?
Well, it's
Dan?
like I worked like 30 hours the last 2 days. Okay, that's great. A lot of people in different professions where they have those long shifts and a lot of things going on. And then of course, you check your email this morning. What happens? All you get is complaints. Just those little things. It's like you can't do any more than you're already doing. But it always seems like the negative comes out of other people. You do people favors, it backfires on you. You treat people, do little things for them, and just kind of adds up over time.
Is there in your work environment, in your current work environment, is there a competitive nature between people? Like if someone screws up, they're going to be out, and someone else is going to be taking their job, or
No, I wouldn't necessarily say that.
because sometimes
but-
people get real petty on things like that. Like instead of doing good by themselves and proving their value by how good they are, they'll sometimes just cut someone else down just to try to make themselves look good. And that to me is just it's a low man's tactic. It's nobody of good character would do that. Well, that's my view, my opinion, but you know the situation better than I.
Yeah, I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of people lately about some stuff, but I can say that, I've had to call a couple of people out lately, and I've long realized, and I think some people that actually, would agree with me on this. Some people can't be corrected.
Hmm.
If they do something and you call them out on it or question something, they don't like that.
I definitely know that type of person.
And unfortunately, it's most people you come across in different, avenues of life. So that kind of grinds my gear a little bit. I thought about this a lot. I took a little mini road trip last weekend through the mountains and hills and valleys of Pennsylvania, and spent some good time in self-reflection and thought about some things, and had some fun too. But sometimes when you're driving through the mountains, it's pouring rain out, you listen to music or you think about things, and I've had some things go on lately it's disheartening, I guess would be the right word for it. So yeah.
Are you finding more people that are that way, or
Yeah, unfortunately, it just seems like more and more people are that way.
Yeah, that's again, it's like that goes back to what I refer to as the we are in an age of adult age adolescence, and it could be even considered like a crisis mode of this time where so many people are not taking ownership of their own shit, and that's what they need to be doing. That's what a good person does. That's what a good man does. And you might be of adult age, but you may not be what I would consider a man. Adult age male and man are not the same thing. Just because you cross a certain age, 18, is considered the legal side of that, but let's face it, it's a maturity thing, and in this last few generations, we're just not able to get there. Honestly, people can talk about Gen Xers being real tough, but there's a lot of Gen Xers that are that way too. They just never really grew up in mentally and maturity, and that to me is a marker. When I see people do stuff like that, not owning up to their own shit, and catching them doing something wrong, calling them out for it, and then just being full denial about the whole thing.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but I've just noticed that it's a character flaw a lot of people, and I'm the first to admit that I think everybody has flaws.
Oh, sure.
And
sure.
I've kind of come to the realization, especially in the last year, on some things I'm trying to work on personally. I think, everyone should have time of self-reflection and look for ways to improve.
I agree.
I don't think it matters about, what your political beliefs are or how much money you make. It's all about trying to improve yourself. But sometimes you see patterns in people, or you get frustrated because you do. Like I live my life a little bit different. A lot of other people. I'm one of those people that, I work hard and I have a unique type of job, but I always try to put others first. I always am willing to help people and serve them and even if it's a little bit of humor or whatever, but help someone do something. And I've been that way a lot, but I don't ask for much in return except for a little bit of respect. And it's been unfortunate that, just been things that have gone on lately. It's like you talk about grinding the gears. You go home at night and it's like, did I do something to this person? I can't remember what I ever did. People, they'll turn on you in a heartbeat. They'll literally turn on you in a heartbeat and just flat out deny it. And I think that's just disrespectful.
I would agree. Yeah, it's sad that people would do that too. Yeah, especially if you help them out too, and they turn on you like that. Yeah, it's not a good behavior. Well, how do you correct that? How do you correct that? How do you correct course of society in that way, and bring people into a better light? I think a lot of that's done through leadership, whether it's a presidency or the values of people in Hollywood or in sports and stuff like that. And you do hear a lot about one of my favorite topics, like stoicism in sports, and a lot of sports athletes use stoic philosophy to help them through tough times, help them through, say, blockages or not scoring or not performing properly. They kind of use that mindset to help keep them course corrected until they start to improve again, getting through injuries and stuff like that. And coaches talk about using stoicism and trying to disregard what fans and all the other people are trying to tell them to do, and just keep them mentally focused. But a lot of that stoicism, I think, needs to be talked about more, and not just with that kind of stuff, but with how you treat people and owning up to your issues. And if you see athletes, especially, or the ones that are using that the most, utilizing that properly, they become good role models in that. And unfortunately, we're not seeing a lot of that from Hollywood or some of the big musicians or the big pop stars.
You don't see it. It's a gradual thing, but people don't see these things anymore coming from, you're right, people, a position in power, or an athlete, a singer, an actress, actor, whatever the case is, a politician, whatever area it is. But when they don't display humility, when they just do things and everything's just a big joke, and life isn't always about roses. People have problems out there, and I'll tell you. So a few weeks ago, I stopped in at a restaurant, and the guy next to me was just, you could see that he almost looked heavy, you know what I mean? Like, he seemed kind of out of it, and I started talking to him, and the guy was trying to put, I didn't know this person, and he was trying to put his life back together. He had lost his business, he had lost his girlfriend, he went to prison for a while, and he's trying to pick up the pieces. He found a job, but he lost a lot of his possessions when he was in jail, so he came out without much to his name. And again, I don't even remember the guy's name. That's irrelevant. But I just kind of just sat there and listened to him talk. It was like he needed someone to talk to. There's people out there, man. They're struggling. We just talked about Claude Lemieux right before the podcast. I mean, just
and
love him or hate him as a hockey player, you heard about what happened to the guy, and it's just like people are struggling out there. And I don't walk in someone else's shoes, and someone else doesn't walk in mine. But
yeah, you don't want to judge based on what you see in just the media. And us being from Detroit, me being a huge Red Wings fan, Claude Lemieux played for the Colorado Avalanche, and that was like the biggest rivalry in sports for a long time. And Claude Lemieux was right in the center of all that with his disgraceful hit on Chris Draper that spurred into this nasty brawl the following year with Darren McCarty putting him down into the turtle. And so he was the eternal bad guy. But the real issue is, I may not like the guy, but I wish that kind of thing upon nobody. And you have to be suffering mentally, internally for a long time. And some of that is probably due to the risks of the sport and the concussions that happen and impacts to the brain that can cause that thing to be much worse than what we see. It's the concussion protocols weren't quite there back in the day. As
yeah,
they
not
are
even
now.
close.
Yeah, they were like, well, seriously, yeah. In that same era, that was like Scott Stevens knocks Paul Kariya out on the ice. I watched that game, thought he was dead, and literally he puffed and like his shield like fogged up. He came back to life. I swear he was dead for a few seconds. Came back to life. Guy finishes. He goes to the locker room and comes back out, scores a goal, finishes the game, scores a game-winning goal, finishes the game, and then later admits does not remember the rest of that game. Like, that's dangerous levels. That does not happen in today's game. They have a lot more protocols than that. They've come down on people who actually target the head and hit the head, and for those reasons, because so many players in the past have suffered from that. And, as much as I like the brutality side of hockey, that's a good call. And it prevents a lot of stuff that, like what happened to Claude Lemieux, which happens so many years down the road. And it's just unfortunate that happened. That's happened to a lot of hockey players. I mean, football players are prone to it
hockey
too.
and football, they're brutal sports. There's
Yeah.
a lot of body contact, and it can wear and tear on the body,
For sure.
including the head and the brain. There's people out there, and you've heard about the CTC and football players, are 55 years old, they're in rough shape, and a big part of it, you start playing football in middle school and then through high school and college into the pros, and you have a long career, but that constant head-to-head contact can have a long-lasting effect.
Yeah. Well, not to be mean about it or anything, but the stereotype of a football player as a jock in high school, they're usually not the brightest guys. But so maybe their baseline's starting out pretty low, but I am just joking around. It's like, so maybe something goes along with the stereotype. But yeah, head injuries are just going to make anybody worse from where they are. I feel bad for going there, but I did. well, sometimes I crack myself up. But we do have some commercial breaks too. So I have some fake, funny AI sponsors that'll fill in some gaps here. So maybe we take a quick break here, and then we'll come back for another one. And I don't know if you need a fresh beer or not, but
Not yet. I got a few other things to grind my gears a little bit.
all right, we'll come back again after the break.
From our local sponsors, right?
Yes, from our sponsors. If you're looking to advertise, this is a good opportunity. So yeah, we'll be right back.
Eat whatever you want and still lose weight. I lost 437 pounds and am still losing weight. With Happy Tapeworm supplements, you'll be light as a feather.
I come from a long line of hose handlers, not just the men, but the women and children too. We specialize in not just the tips, but the whole hose. Our line goes all the way back to the Old West.
Buy now and I'll handle your whole hose order. And now back to Pub Wisdom.
Okay, how about that sponsor? Good stuff. No, I've been my sponsors are obviously AI generated, and AI is a topic I've been really pondering, because I've been both experimenting with it and then pondering its potential for, I will say, wreaking havoc on the job market and the education system too. So there's a couple different spurs of that fork that I'm looking at that are going to be potentially dangerous for all of us. On the flip side, there are a lot of uses. Like, I'm able to take an idea and have an AI generate it and have a video done within minutes, and it looks good. And I'm already seeing advertisements using AI videos. Because I work with AI videos, I can identify how they are, how they look, how they sound, because they all have certain signatures about them. Are they at a point where we're replacing everything yet? Not quite, but it's fastly approaching. I don't know if that's an area that grinds your gears, but we can get back to grinding your gears right now if you like. But I do want to get back.
I was going to throw a little bit of humor. So you said the word ponderous, and what came into my mind is right in the early 90s there was a song called This Is Ponderous. Ponderous, man, really ponderous. And he's talking about some kind of random dream, but I'm not well.
Which is why you're here.
Yeah.
No, we like to think about big concept things here. I like those. I like those conversations, which is where a lot of my guests come from. Because you and I have sat down many times and had some big conversations at the bar, and I think they're all worth talking about. I think they're worth discussing, because what AI is going to do, and I've already seen it start to happen at one employer I've been working with. The white collar side of things is going to get hit harder first. Blue collar workers, the guys who physically do things, are going to last longer against this. the big tech gods out there like to talk about this utopian future where we're having an age of abundance, and AI generating all the stuff, and robots assembling the things, and we're just going to have all these things produced at astonishing rates, and it's going to make everything super cheap. And my thought is, well, who's going to buy them? All these things that are being made if nobody's working. So like some of the things are thrown out there, universal income and universal high income, and well, who determines that? How do we get there? What happens in the interim? So I've seen numbers talk about like somewhere around 15% of job losses are going to cause some chaos. So that's where people start getting really upset, frustrated, rioting, that kind of things. AI can maybe not take over everybody's jobs, but it can definitely clear about 15% of us out. And that's where things are going to get really rough. So what do we do? How do you isolate yourself from that? I mean, I'm hearing about college kids right now that are using like ChatGPT to basically write everything for them.
Do all their homework for them. There's no
Right.
actual investigation. There's no study.
They trust it 100%. They act as if, well, this has to be true. This AI wrote it for me. And no.
Yeah, and I've had conversations with some younger people, and I don't support this at all. I don't support that. You don't do your own research. You don't write. You don't. You're supposed to learn something in society and teach yourself some things. And having someone else do your paper, or someone else, a computer, or whatever the case may be, it's not right.
Well, I'm going to caveat that a little bit. Like, yeah, I don't agree that you should have an AI write it all. I think you should have, if you leverage the technology properly, you can have it help you out. You still need to proofread it. You still need to understand the information it's coming up with, and you need to be able to determine whether or not that information is correct. Because as of right now, it can build hallucinations. It can generate fake numbers, and you can ask it again and go deeper on it, and it'll change things. And so the first time it comes up with something, it may not be right. So how does it come up with that? So I can gather from when I generate pictures, and I'll use Norse mythology as an example. I'll say, make me a picture of Thor from Norse mythology. He comes up every time looking like Chris Hemsworth from Marvel movies. Why is that? That is not the description of Thor in Norse mythology. He's a large man, red bearded, and he wields a hammer. So, and the hammer always ends up looking like Chris Hemsworth, blonde hair, blue eyes, and the hammer just looks like the one from Marvel movies. That rectangular shaped hammer with the tapered edges. Why is it doing that? If you search the internet, the majority of the information out there when you look up Thor is all from Marvel. So it's basically taking that and it's averaging the internet to generate a picture, and it's why it almost always looks like Chris Hemsworth. So
it pulls things from places that aren't legitimate.
Right. It's averaging the internet, whether it's real or not, legitimate or not, accredited or not, and it just generates something based off all that, and there you go. So it really is an advanced search engine at this point. It can generate things that are somewhat true, but you have to have certain critical thinking skills to leverage that and push it in the right direction. But then you're still coercing things, you're still pushing things in your direction. So if you have an agenda, you can make it say whatever you want in that agenda. I've seen that too. I've seen people that are reasonably smart, but they have an agenda and they're asking it questions and they end up getting the answer that they were looking for. True or not, they get the answer they're looking for. So there's a lot out there to discern with it. We can have a lot of useful idiots out there generating whatever they want, and then they believe in it because there it is, it must be true.
Yeah, people see it on the internet, so some hack just comes up with something that's completely false, but it gets a lot of followers and views, and then people start believing it. Lie upon lie.
Yeah.
I came from a previous employer where I try to tell people, like, you just can't steal information from other competing companies. But he was trying to convince that you could just write a crappy story based on AI, which was pulling stats that were inaccurate, had nothing to do with what you were trying to write on, and then tell me, oh, it's just a gray area, and then, well, we can take whatever we want from someone else's website. No, you can't, and you can get sued for that. But you try to explain that to people, and they think because, today, they can just do whatever they want.
Straight up plagiarism.
Yeah, it is, and it's happening more and more, and you quote somebody, and you take that quote from another, like, newspaper, magazine, or TV station, whatever it is, you got to accredit that. You just can't put it in your story as you're writing a story or whatever and call it your own. You didn't conduct the interview. It came from another company. You can't do that. A lot of people think you can just do this. And yeah, that grinds my gears. It does anger me. I'm trying not to show my temper here, but
This is your segment, Dan. This is what it's about for you.
this is my platform. This is my night. Damn it.
Just vent. Let that steam come right out of your ears. And then when you're done, do a spin-off like Blue Sheep.
And one more here, Monty.
Yeah, so but you kind of bring up a really good point. That's it's just grabbing things from accredited sources like that, and then it's like, whoa, now you're plagiarizing and you're just reproducing that, putting it out there. So who's to blame it?
But it's just the things have changed. You think about since 2000. Look at the changes that are happening in society. Even going back to the 90s, like, you take music, like, people started downloading stuff illegally. And just, it's out there, I'm going to steal it. And it caused a lot of problems. And it's the same thing, like, and then we got into the 2000s and, like, social media. It's been pretty prevalent the last 20 years. I mean, think back 20 years ago, people had a MySpace account, but it was your personal page about what music you like, what movies, whatever. Things have morphed into Facebook, and now there's so many. But people just feel like they see something. Well, if it's there, they can just take it. You can't. It's this whole Snapchat generation where people just think they can just snap, they can just grab, they can just do that. Hey, clip, and you're all set. And there are consequences to this mentality. But you can't. And people, again, it goes back to what we were talking about before the break. People do something wrong and you can't correct them. Too many people can't take constructive criticism. You try to pull some of the ways, like, you can't do this. This is not legal. But people have the approach like, well, it's out there on the internet, so I can just take whatever I want. And it's an unfortunate viewpoint to have because that's not actually accurate. But you can't tell people differently.
They're simply wrong, is what you're saying. They're simply wrong at doing that and saying that. And unless they're caught and consequences happen, they're never going to learn. That's unfortunate, but you're old enough and I'm old enough to know of a time where you just couldn't do that. You would get caught, you would get called up, and you would lose all credit for what you're doing.
You lose credibility. Yeah. Some people have lost their jobs over this.
And if people are just
think back when you were at
college thinking they can just do that, and
think back over the decades. You were in high school and you went to college and you had to write papers and read a book, a literature book, and write a paper, and then, or you have the research paper or a thesis, whatever the case is. And your teachers and professors always say you got to cite your sources. You have to cite, you had to put together that page in the back of your paper. You had a 30-page paper, but you had to put 3 or 4 pages of where you got your information. Who did you cite? And we got into a gray area.
I'm wondering when that went out. Hold on 1 second. Oh, it's back. I might have lost some audio a little bit there, but I would pick it up over here too. But we're back. Sorry about
difficulties.
Sorry about that.
Going across the screen.
So yeah, I've been trying to get this thing to not turn off on me, and I don't know why. Tell me why, IT geeks, that you can't just put simple controls in easy to find spots for us, right? You got to move shit around every time, and then just not tell us where they're at. Well, it's simple. You just look it up this way. No, make it fucking anyway.
Just Google it. Come on. It's simple.
I tried
Starts with a
Googling
G and
it.
ends with an E.
I tried Googling it. It's not working, man. All right, so yeah, sorry if that went out on us. I'd probably keep an eye on that dot.
See, now he's got some gears to grind. He's talking about basic laptops, not finding the...
Anything to deal with IT guys. And it's funny because, yeah, at work, IT guys have gotten fewer and more remote. So they can just remote in and do stuff now. Before, they would actually come to your desk, fix your stuff, be, all right, you're fine, you leave, and then there's something else fucked up. Now it's like they're not even there, and they just mess your shit up. Now they just push updates, mess your shit up. And it's like, it was fine the way it was, and you pushed an update, and now it's fucked up. They do it with phones, they do it with their laptops, they do it at work. Drives me nuts. Just let things be, man. We like things the way they are. We just get it working. I'm moving efficiently now, and you just moved all my buttons around. I can't stand that.
Now I'm having images of the movie Office Space where they're having issues with the copy machines.
It's amazing that to this day how that movie was what, 98, I think?
I think it came out in 99, but...
Because they were talking about Y2K.
27 years later, and that movie is still absolutely brilliant because it is so true. If anyone's
Very,
ever
very relevant.
worked in a cubicle situation, I mean, like a company where there are actual cubicles, even if it was just for a brief moment of time, you could understand. And I think it's a little bit less prevalent because so many companies are around the world are remote now. Mm-hmm. However, there are still a lot of people who have to drive into, a downtown in a city or an edge city and go up into a high rise or a big, building and have a cubicle or a small office or, sit in a commons area or bullpen, and you can see these, cheesy company slogans and stuff. It's like, have little get-togethers, It's like, can we just work? Can we just work and go home? Not deal with all this? Because you just give people, like, HR people something to do all day. Like, hey, let's come up with cheesy slogans and little powwows together. I don't think it helps productivity, but that's just me.
No, and it's a lot of times it's them justifying their own justifying their own existence by occupying our time with all their BS. And it's simply BS, and it's not productive. Their idea of team building it really doesn't work. Just cheesy games and stuff like that. If anything, it's a slight distraction from what you do. And the rest of us just want to, put our heads down, put the nose to the grindstone, get things done, and go home. Do the rest, live our lives. We're not living to work. We're working so we can live, right? And it's a huge thing with us, our generation. And I think, honestly, like the younger generations, they don't even want to work that much. They just want to live, and can't blame them. I can't blame them for that. But I mean,
but I think a lot of people I know, especially under 30, under 35, this mentality that life's a party, and it's not. And some people, I think they have to learn the hard way later in life. But
well.
I mean, but back to the office situation, like I have a profession, and we don't have a corporate office anymore. We just go out to certain events and do what we do, and I'll either go home or I'll stop in a restaurant, a diner, a restaurant, a sports bar, Buffalo Wild Wings, whatever, a local watering hole, and just sit in the corner and work for a couple hours. Be that if it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon or 10 o'clock at night, whatever the case is. Do I miss an office? Well, there was years ago there'd be camaraderie where you can go into an office and there are 10, 20, 30 people in there. You can grab a couple people, coworkers, and go out to lunch, whatever the case is, or grab a bite to eat, dinner, or drinks after, whatever you do for a living. And I think I personally miss that a little bit. But the daily stuff about the crap you had to go through out in an office, it's like, I don't miss that. And I think a lot of people would agree with me that some of that stuff just isn't necessary. It's a waste of time.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. But think about that, those companies save a lot of money by not paying rent for that kind of space. Yeah. And so what do they do with that extra money? I mean, a lot of times that just goes to the top brass.
Yes.
It really
doesn't trickle down, that's for sure.
Nope. for some reason, trickle down is only really a bad thing.
Just think of it. If Initech ships a couple extra units, I don't see a dime. So where's the motivation of that, Bob?
Again, the relevancy of Office Space. That was a very prophetic movie. Very to this day. There's I gotta pop open another one. Yeah, buddy.
Head for the mountains.
Oh, it's a brilliant idea. This is actually a Yeti koozie, but it works so well. I just put my second beer in there, and it stays ice cold, so I can put it back in my mug. Oh, we gotta have pour. Yeah, again, I put a lot of head on that.
Mr. Yuengling, it's good to have you here in Michigan.
Once again, Yuengling, welcome to Michigan. You know another thing about Yuengling, being the oldest brewery in the U.S., awesome. Labatt is usually, Blue or Blue Light's usually like my mainstay, cheap go-to beer. And I kind of thought that Yuengling was kind of on the same level as those cheap go-to beers, like the American macro brew kind of thing. And yes, Labatt is Canadian. Don't anyone jump on me on that. I know very well. But I will say, after drinking a nice Yuengling and then you try to go to Labatt's, oh my, that's like drinking dirty water at that point. And I'm like,
If you start off with Labatt or like Molson Canadian or basic
Absolutely.
stuff, it's fine, and then you upgrade to.
but if you go,
Yuengling, if you go to like a Blue Moon or
if you start with a good
Oberon.
beer, it's very hard to step down. You start with a good beer, you stay with that good beer all night. But don't ever step down to a bad beer because bleh. But I never, to this point, never experienced anything like that. Nothing made Labatt's taste that bad, other than Yuengling. So keeping up with my American pride, and my current disdain for anything Canadian because of just their general attitude toward anything U.S. right now.
Yes.
Yeah, we own you in hockey. We got your gold medals. You have no chance of winning Stanley Cup again this year. So yet another year, 30 plus years without a Stanley Cup. So eat it, Canada. What's my Canadian friends out there?
Speaking of beer,
I love you.
I have a question. So why I want to know why restaurants and bars in Michigan do not normally have on tap Molson Canadian, obviously Canadian beer. Another one of my favorite beers is Dirty Blonde. You should never see those on tap anywhere.
I do see Dirty Blondes around every now and then. Atwater Brewery, Detroit Brewery.
Okay.
But
But it's not too often. Most
No,
places don't have it on tap.
I think it's losing favor. I do know someone that used to work at Atwater, and she didn't have anything good to say about the ownership and
Well,
the cleanliness of the place. So after hearing a lot about that, I've been backing off on that kind of beer. Actually, I kind of hope to get her on here on the podcast. She's got an interesting side business that would love to have her showcase her stuff here.
conversation about beer on the air? Count me in. How about you, Jeff? What do you think? That's what I thought.
That's right.
Got to include Jeff out of here. He's a man of many words.
He will talk a lot on the AI side of things. So
Okay.
yeah, I just can't make him talk directly to us, but we'll get something going there. Yeah, conversation about beer. Yeah, anytime you want to talk about beer, you want to come on here, yeah.
You mentioned something a little while ago about the AI and
Yeah.
job loss, and in Michigan, obviously, there's still a lot of businesses that are tied directly to automotive.
Mm-hmm.
And I know of two people that have lost their jobs here in the last couple of weeks where they were starting to lay people off. And, they say it's performance, but, sometimes they just say, hey, let's chop off X percentage of the staff in each
Yep.
department. And sometimes they'll say, we'll just go to seniority. Sometimes they don't. But that's one of the worst feelings in the world. Anyone that's ever been laid off, and it's happened to me a few times where, your life's together and all of a sudden you get that news, you get a phone call, you get an email, you go into a conference room and they dropped a big one on you. And
Yeah,
you're helpless, and so many times people get laid off in society. It isn't really anything they did. They didn't do anything wrong. They worked hard. They showed up on time. They were punctual. Did their job. They sometimes did more than what was asked of them. But sometimes there comes a time where corporations, they don't care. They just look at numbers on a page, and they look at spreadsheets. They look at profit margins. They look at, donors and stockholders and everyone else. And if they come to the decision where they're going to get rid of X amount of people, it is a tough pill to swallow. And you can learn a lot about yourself. And it happened to me back in '09. Back when there really wasn't much of a jobs doing anything back then, because 2007 to 2010 was not a great period of the economy here, at least in Michigan.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to be out of the state during that time,
Yeah, and it was
but
really
I know how
tough.
bad it was here.
I remember losing my job, and I've got all these bills. I got a mortgage, and I got all this other things, and I'm like trying to apply for jobs, and I'm applying for stuff in over 40 states, and you're not getting calls, you're not getting interviews, and you're applying for jobs. Like I went to like Home Depot and places like that to look for work, just something I could help pay bills with. And people are like, "What are you working? You do this for a living? What are you doing here?" Well, because there's no jobs in my field right now, and I've got to live somehow. So I get it. Like it's a hard thing. And I ran into a guy the other day that he told me he's getting laid off, and I saw him last week. He said it was my last day, and he went and took care of a bunch of stuff, left at lunch, and he said he went and grabbed a bite to eat, and then he went to a job interview. A couple hours later, he's putting his nose to the grind. He's trying to find a job. He'd like to have something, before summer's over, because summer's just starting. And I'm in a conversation with him, and one of his buddies is hanging out with him, and there's conversations at bars where people are kind of talking across the bar, and so someone makes a comment to him, and it was kind of harsh, and I waited till things kind of simmered down, and I walked over to this girl I know, and I said, "Hey, listen, this individual it was his last day at his job today. Like, he doesn't have a job, and he's got to go through that. It could be hell for people to try to find a new job.
For sure.
So you have a mortgage, you have all these other things, whatever. You have a lifestyle, you have things you got going on in your life.
Children at home, how's the
Yeah, I
food,
mean, some
it's
people
like,
have children, and it's like, it's not easy.
Mm-mm.
And I said something to this individual, and I said, "Listen, he's having a hard enough day. Don't start arguments. I'm sitting between you people. I don't want to deal with this." So at least she went over there and apologized, because she was in the wrong. And it goes back to what we started talking about 20 minutes ago about correcting people. Some people can dish it out, but they can't take it. And some people you can pull someone aside and say, "Hey, I think you were in error about what you just said or what you just did." Sometimes it's out of love. Like, you can say, "Hey, listen, you said this, you're wrong. I think you apologize to somebody." But more and more often, I come across conversations and people, even if it doesn't involve me or sitting between people, it's like, you try to correct somebody, and they can't deal with that. How dare you? How dare you tell me that I'm wrong? That mentality.
Yeah, that's because they've not matured.
I was texting with someone I know a couple weeks ago, and I called her out about something, and she denied it, and still deny. And that's like, I can't control that. There's just. I think, Jason, the biggest part is that people don't have any humility anymore. They have none of it. That's what really grinds my gears. You talk about something that wants to set me off. I've been thinking about this a lot the last several months. I've had some really deep conversations with some really close friends of mine across the country in the last couple of months. And I'm trying to make some changes in my life. I'm trying to make some improvements. And I've had conversations, and people have told me, like, "Hey, you need this." They understand where I'm coming from, but they're like, "Hey, you ought to look at it this way. Like, here's some things that maybe are flaws in the way you act or what you say." But I had to have some humility and listen to that. Not get all pissed off, not walk away. Well, what the hell, fuck they, you know what I mean? Like, as we all do, we're like, "Oh, how dare someone tell me that I act this way, I'm wrong." But you got to have a little bit of humility in this world.
For sure.
And I think it's more the younger people than it's the older people. They have none of it. They have zero humility.
Yeah,
they just feel like they can do whatever they want, treat people the way they do, and it's like there's no repercussions of it. And I've called a lot of people out on it, and I got people that are literally pissed off at me because of this, and they're wrong. I'm sorry. They have no humility.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you raise a child to as a golden child and tell them they can have anything they want if they just want it, and they never really experience basically the word no growing up. And why can't they have that? Well, you need to change your behavior, you need to do this, you need to do that to acquire what you want, or even gain a position of leverage to get what you want. They just grow up and they're raised that way, and then they get released to the world, and that's how they act. And then a lot of times, my thought is like raising a child and having them snap back at a parent. First of all, you should not be doing that, because if you're raised and you're allowed to do that, if you're snapping back at your parents and your parents are bowing down to that or allowing that, by the time you get to an adulthood age, 18 and up, you start doing that to real authority figures, you're going to find your face smashed down in the hood of a police car, and you're going to be crying police brutality, but chances are it was your mouth that got you in that problem in the first place. And so I don't know what needs to happen. I mean, I love the sport of hockey for that aspect. There is a self-correcting measure in there, and the TV show Shoresy really kind of said that all. I want to say it was somewhere in season 2. He had a very candid moment where Shoresy, the main character, sat down and someone was asking him something about why he still plays, and he said, hockey is the one last place where a man could be a man. He goes, on the ice, someone hits my buddy, I'm hitting that guy, and we're correcting. We're correcting for someone who stepped out of line. He goes, but I was in a club with a girl, and someone was out of line with my girl, and I hit the guy, and somehow I'm the bad guy. It's like, that's how the real world is now. Someone mans up, does the right thing, protects his woman, protects his buddies, corrects someone who's out of line, and then somehow that person is just deemed the bad guy by everyone around because he actually used physical force. I'm not saying that physical force always needs to be used, but a real man knows how to measure that and knows how to step up and sometimes smack down the person who's out of line.
That's what sometimes it also takes restraint to not to resort.
Well, that's what true power is,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, you know yourself. You know when to do it and when not to. And most of the time, this society doesn't like it. You have to be very restrained with that. It has to be very clear and concise when someone really steps out of line. So think about like the John Wayne kind of era, right? Like, someone gets out of line, they mouth off to a woman or something, they smack a woman around or something. It's okay to knock that guy out. Nowadays, it's like, oh, hey, women are equals, right? Because women fought for everything equal. Let the woman deal with that. I'm like, I don't think so. I don't believe that to be real. Men and women are equal and opposites, yin and yang. Men are physically stronger. Someone gets out of line with a woman, that's when a man needs to step up, right? But all too often we just watch. And what do people do nowadays? They just get our phone out and just record the whole thing. And that's supposed to be our corrective measure, is to shame the person or cancel the person or whatever afterwards. That's not a measure that's working anymore. It seemed to a little bit, but now it's like, no. We've kind of used that power and went overboard with it. But we need men to be men again. We need to be honorable. We need to be able to correct those that step out of line. We need to have a way of making boys or adult age adolescents and initiating them into manhood. And so they are the newer guys. They are the guys that know how to step up and understand that. Each generation needs to teach the next generation.
I don't think it's happening much as way it used
No. I think in general what we see in public right now, I think you're right, but I think there's a wave of people out there now that are raising their boys to be real men. But it's years in the making, right? These boys are young now, but they're teaching them how to do with real skills. a lot of that comes through blue collar work ethic, right?
Or just a work ethic, period. Some people don't have a work ethic.
Yeah.
Hate to say it, but there's a lot of people out there. Hey, it just goes back to what you said. Hey, I don't have to do any research. I'll just have ChatGPT do it for me.
Right.
There's no work ethic involved. There's no ethic involved either.
Well, yeah, you need ethics, work
Ethics,
ethic,
yeah.
Yeah, you need you need people to be responsible. You need to, and that comes with good discipline. And you need to be disciplined, and you need to just be able to do that. Man, I had a good thought, and I kind of like it shifted a little bit. So yeah, you need to, I guess once we train an individual to do the right thing, by the time you get to adulthood, you're less likely to do that. I recently heard about a study that was done on testosterone, and they talk about testosterone levels dropping in males since the 50s all the way up. But they literally gave a group of men testosterone, and then the other group were given a placebo, and they were giving them questions about like ethical type questions, and they were expecting the ones with the high testosterone levels to be the worst than the ones that didn't get any. And what they found out was the opposite. So they were asking questions like, if you could do XYZ tasks and they were unethical, but there was no way anyone would ever find out that you did this and you can make a lot of money doing this, would you do it? What they found out was the people with the high testosterone level were not likely to do it, and people lower testosterone levels were doing it all day long without, hey, if I'm not going to get caught, I'm going to do this. And that to me signals a lot of what you see, like the beta males out there, the guys who suck up the women, the guys who are basically the male feminist types, are just sucking up the women. Yeah, you're great, you're the best. And it's like, and a real man's like, honey, you might be great at certain things, but I'm the man, you're the woman. We both have roles. You're great at things, I'm great at things. We match. I'm not going to sit there and put you up on a pedestal all day long. I mean, I will with compliments, I will with different things, but we can get Jami down here and let her speak to that. And yeah, it's so I really think that some of it's that. Some of it is the fact that and I think testosterone levels rise when we have bigger challenges in our lives. I think we honestly are living in a very safe society. There are no real dangers here. Nobody's really coming after you. Our stresses and our anxieties are all about our jobs and our ability to make enough money. But there's no, so we live in a real safe area. Like Rochester, Troy, Michigan, they're very safe. They're some of the safest in the nation. Like, we're not being hunted by, predatory animals. We're not being robbed, and there's not a lot of crime around here. We're a pretty safe area. So a lot of this squirreliness kind of stuff, weasel kind of mentality, it comes from a safe society. Lower testosterone levels can get by. Higher testosterone levels are people that will stand up with moral conduct and will do the right thing. And I think because of some of these studies that are showing that testosterone is a very misunderstood hormone, and if it keeps dropping in males, we're going to see weird things like that. But I don't know. The other thing, the flip side of it is like the sociopath, psychopath type people. They are tailor made for corporate leadership.
Yeah.
Like you're saying before, cutting people from their jobs is just numbers in a spreadsheet. If you have no sympathy or empathy for those types of people, and you're a sociopath, you just don't have that in you. So we cut 1,500 jobs right now. Bye-bye. 1,500 people all of a sudden looking for jobs,
And then they get in their car and then go out to their golf club and take out for 18 and not.
Because they got a bonus for doing that, right? Their shareholders like, oh hey, all right, cool, less overhead.
I mean, when I got laid off in 2009, I had a really nice job and benefits and everything, and then a couple years later, someone I knew worked at a sister publication of the state sent me an email and it's like, you gotta check this out. And I read it, was talking about the CEO of the parent company was retiring at age 59 because he had chronic back problems. And he got some like ridiculous, like, I don't know, 12, 22 million, whatever it was, of a golden parachute.
Oh, I feel bad for the guy.
Yeah,
It's just not enough.
It's the rough back, you know, you gotta retire as, you know, people got thrown out to the garbage can in a jobless career field, and yeah, but they can it's okay for them to.
I'm hoping that audio didn't drop.
I was getting to the really meat and potatoes here of the
I got back.
conversation.
I got back. But they $12 million golden parachute.
Yeah, it must be rough, huh? To sit there and destroy people's lives, but you're the one who walks out unscathed. And
boy, I feel bad for that guy. Yeah, that's the sickest thing. I think there should be a moral framework where if we make it public enough to shame these CEO types, that, and this is a rule I wish we all could get behind, introduce, and say, hey, if you're a CEO of a company and within the calendar year you have laid off any number of any number of your workers, no bonuses for you. No bonuses for anybody. You don't lay people off. You figure out how to redeploy them. There are good CEOs out there that don't do that type of thing. Not many of them.
I think they're few and far between.
But the majority of them have gone through the big education system where they just learn that that's a thing. And unfortunately,
they lack empathy. They really do.
Yeah, just
That grinds my gears.
grinds my gears
Yes.
too. To be honest, it's a subject I take to heart because
I've seen lives turned upside down
yeah,
just on job loss alone. Like I
Yeah.
said, again,
well, it's happened to both of
there's
us
two.
too.
I mean, I've had numerous job loss, or pretty much had to quit a job because I couldn't deal with the atmosphere, the way thing. You know, it's hard to put a word on, but sometimes people are working for a small business or a corporation, because that doesn't necessarily matter. But sometimes you have to step away. You have, you know, in good conscience, with, you know, doing things the right way and with integrity. And that's what I had to do last summer. But I know a lot of people out there have gone through similar situations where they realized they had to leave. Not necessarily a job layoff. They had to leave where they were at and go find employment elsewhere because they just could not work in that environment. There's sometimes people are some work positions. It's when you have a cancerous environment, it's not worth it. Again, and now if you have a wife and kids, or you know, or husband and kids, where you know, and sometimes you don't have that leeway to just walk away.
Yeah, it makes it a lot tougher, for sure.
You have to do some really, you know, have to do some soul searching. Really, sometimes you have to.
One
really
thing I
ponder.
would say that the younger generation is doing correct is they're finding multiple sources of income streams. That way, if like the job fails, you have other income streams to kind of fall back on. And you know, the side hustles are pretty interesting, to say the least. Not all of us are privy to some of the stuff that's out there, but you have to find your own way with your own skills, your own talents. But I think that's a key to survival nowadays, is having multiple income streams. Hey, it'd be nice if some sponsors, you know, chimed in and gave us a little income, but you know, whatever it is. But yeah, multiple income streams would be something. That's kind of a way of how an individual can, you know, kind of keep them from being so susceptible to that. Because I don't think the loyalty to the employee is ever going to return, not unless something major happens. But I think what I want to do is I want to bring it around, kind of wrap it up here, and let's try to come up with a solution. Like, what could we do? And I think if you got something off the top of your head, you want to split it out right now, but I want to reiterate the one I came up with. But
It's really hard to.
Well,
it's-
let me go again.
Okay.
Let me reiterate. I think we need a moral conduct amongst our CEO elite types, especially of all the mega corporations out there, and we need to have something. I don't know, like a constitution just written into these corporations saying, at any given calendar year, if employees are laid off, there will be no bonuses to not just the top brass, but the shareholders too. So I think it would force a company to perform well, keep their employees working, not just, hey, we need to shave these guys off, and then like 3 quarters later, oh, hey, we need to hire some people back because we're trying to make money quarter by quarter. I think it's disgraceful behavior. We see too much of it, and I think it's time we, the people, stand up and say, hey, let's do something about this. And then the flip side of it is to inoculate ourselves from that is the individuals do need multiple income streams, not just rely on the job. But that's where I land with it. I don't know if you have anything to add or if you have an idea of your own that.
No, not necessarily an idea of my own, but yeah, I mean, some people, they're motivated to get other, revenue coming in. Some people don't always have that option either. If you work a lot of hours and you have kids and you have a spouse and you're constantly on the go doing stuff, sometimes you don't literally have time to take on a second or third job. Maybe younger people have that a little bit more flexibility, which is why you see even college graduates, they'll have jobs that they'll be doing DoorDash on the side or Ubering, or they'll extra money, working in a bar on a Saturday night, just, ways to help pay the bills. There's nothing wrong with that at all. I mean, I don't put people down for working multiple jobs, because there's been times in my life where I was forced to do that as well. Sometimes you're forced into that situation. Sometimes people have to do it because it's a way to make ends meet too. So
Yeah, I guess there's other solutions along the way there. Maybe not living a life that's going to put you into debt, which is difficult to do. Our education system is one of the biggest ways to go into debt. I think we need to evaluate the return on investment for our education system. That way we can somehow educate people and not put them into debt. But we have phones, we have laptops, we have the world's information at our fingertips. I mean, if you utilize it properly, do you really need the actual education? Because you can look all this stuff up. I've seen college graduates come out of college, get a great job, sit right in front of me. They don't know anything about what they're doing. They Google everything. Dude, get out of my way. I can do that. Like, I don't need you here if you're gonna come in and work above me but know nothing about what we do and Google everything. Please don't do that. What is your education for? What did you learn at your school that you don't know anything of, and take this job in front of me? I don't know. So
I remember once being with a group of people. We were going down south, and we get off the freeway and we make a left over the bridge and we pull into a gas station. I think there's like a Subway and places attached to a couple places to eat. So we go in there, we get the driver gets gas, and we all go in there and we grab some snacks and stuff, and I think I picked up a sub or whatever. We get back in the car, and mind you, we're on the left side of the freeway, the east side of the freeway, and the driver starts punching into his phone. Like, what are you doing? Well, I need directions back to the freeway. I go, dude, turn right here, we go over the bridge, and you turn left, and you go south. It's right there, it's 100 yards away. But he couldn't trust his own instincts. Like, it's not like you got off the freeway in the dark, drove 12 miles up a winding road, and you need to find your way back to the freeway. You're sitting right next to it. But people are so reliant on technology, and there's no sense of direction. I've seen that a lot in recent years. People have no sense of direction whatsoever.
that's a whole historical thing, right? So with every new technology, we lose something in our capabilities, right? There's things that we can't do that our fathers and grandfathers used to be able to do all the time. Like, it's funny how we can go into like people are conspiratorial about moon landing and stuff like that, but there was lots of people using slide rulers that were able to calculate everything they needed to put a rocket into space and put a man on the moon, and they did it repeatedly. People say, well, you know, we got more compute power in our phones now than they ever did. True, very true. But what do you use it for? What are you using it for, right? It's our brains inherently get lazy. My best example of that is, like, we were told in school that you will never have a calculator with you at all times, so you have to know this kind of math, and you have to be able to do it in your head. Well, guess what? We have phones with us all the time now, right? And then there's a calculator on that. My brain just goes, I can do the math, but my phone's right there. So instead of going straight to, you know, the math I can do in my head, I go, it's right here. I can do this. Use the phone. The driving is no different. Cab drivers have a developed spot in their brain that knows directions like crazy. Now, with GPS, your brain's like a muscle that atrophies, and you just use GPS. So maybe that guy was an extreme case of just using
Almost too reliant.
Yeah, too reliant. So
I mean, I drove through Pennsylvania last weekend, but you know what? Yeah, I looked at a map, like, hey, you know, get a rough idea, and then I'm like out just driving down roads in the hills and mountains without knowing exactly where I'm going. It's kind of cool to explore a little bit too. But it was kind of nice to kind of detach. Like, I didn't spend much time when I was gone on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and LinkedIn, and everywhere else, and we all spend way too much time on that. It was kind of like a relief.
Agreed.
I took a step back, you know. Yeah, I had my phone plugged into my stereo, was playing, you know, 70s, 80s, and 90s music through my cell phone into my stereo, you know, car stereo, but I'm like, I wasn't necessarily sitting there all day on a cell phone. I went into a record store for 3.5 hours and I turned my phone off. It was great. I just detached. It was pleasant. It was nice.
there's a lot to be said about that reset time too, where you unplug and you can just do things without the use of the technology around you. Yeah, I think our brain is like a muscle. It needs to be exercised in certain ways. We need to be able to trust it more. How else are we going to be able to discern whether or not things like AI are telling us the truth? We're not. And it's a sad thing that we're probably the last generation who's going to be really skeptical of this stuff. And then every other generation is just going to be all in on it. And let's hope. Let's hope that there's a class of people that stay away from it, don't use it, and learn how to do things the old ways, and can kind of, be strong for the rest that are falling down. So I think I like to end it on a happy note, but that one's a little I don't know. Well, I think we'll be okay with every new technology. The gloom and doom has come up with it, but there always seems to be a new beginning on the other side. So let's hope for the best on that one. Let's say goodbye. Let's say make sure everybody tips their servers well and treat them well too. So goodbye for the guys tonight, and get wise at the pub.
Thank you for watching Pub Wisdom.